Carly Fiorina campaigning with Ted Cruz. They got into a heated exchange with a reporter over the National Enquirer story. Well, you know what it alleged. Watch this. This is remarkable.
We are talking about a scurrilous, ridiculous piece of the National Enquirer. Why do you all dance to Donald Trump's tune? Let's talk about the issues, please.
Well, that's fine too, but Senator, I'm sorry. This is a very serious question about your character.
Last question.
If the answer is yes, I've always been faithful, why can you just say so,
Sir,
please?
I recognize that you love going into the gutter with these kind of... Sir,
the National Enquirer's already gone into the gutter.
Sir, I'm going to answer your question.
So does your public, and your so does your publication.
Stop interrupting.
Thank you.
And what is your publication about?
The Daily Mail, the world's most read English language newspaper website.
They chased
Can we use the last question to talk about
my granddaughters to thank you.
Look, I'm going to give a very brief answer to your question, which is the National Enquirer story is complete garbage. It is total lies. It was planted by Donald Trump's henchmen. And I don't think the people of Wisconsin or the people of America have any interest in tabloid trash.
Well, there you are. Townhall.com political editor Guy Benson joins us here tonight. Good to see you, Guy. Attorney, radio talk show host Eboni Williams, both Fox News contributors. Your reaction? I mean, I think Carly forgot who the candidate was there for a minute. What do you think?
I'll tell you what, Ted Cruz has quite a pit bull in Carly Fiorina. I mean, is this looking like a ticket? I don't know, Lou. I mean, she was very adamant. I'll say she does Ted Cruz enormous favor. Not only is she a woman, she's a strong woman. She's also been at the receiving end of Donald Trump's not so flattering comments about her and her looks. So
what do you think of that? What do you think of that?
It's what I expect of Carly Fiorina. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, actually. I think that's her thing. Yeah.
Guy, your reaction?
Well, I think it's interesting that we're all talking about this National Enquirer story instead of the much bigger scoop that they reported recently, which was that the CIA hired a hooker to murder Antonin Scalia. So, I mean, if we are taking National Enquirer so-called reporting seriously, we should be talking about that. We should be talking about Hillary Clinton supposedly being on death's door. I mean, this is silly season. Absolutely silly season.
And where would you like to go, oh serious one?
Something beyond tabloid garbage.
I'm ready.
Hey, fine. Let's talk about, I don't know, Donald Trump's recent statements to the New York Times and the Washington Post on foreign policy and how he would differ from Ted Cruz.
How about NATO and the degree to which you either agree or disagree with him, and the fact that dissolution and rebalancing of NATO to meet a rather large array of potential enemies is probably well reasoned, and again, he's chosen to lead on the agenda, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting that he's saying it should be recalibrated. He's called it an obsolete alliance on numerous occasions, saying that the Americans, we, contribute too much disproportionately, and other countries aren't pulling their weight.
Guy, do you disagree with this? Because this is a serious matter. We don't want to go over the surface of it.
I think that's a good question, Lou, and I would say that I don't think that we should withdraw from NATO. I do think that
neither did Donald Trump suggest we do.
I'm answering your question, which is, and I'm glad we're talking about a real issue as opposed to a salacious side story.
Partner, I mean, I can talk about what you want to talk about.
Great. I mean, it's your show. I'm glad that you're letting me take it over.
You were I don't know. I felt your pain, and I just wanted to be sure we addressed it.
So
I'm trying to be a good host.
Yeah, no, you're very kind and welcoming as always, Lou. And I would say that I think what Trump's saying about NATO resonates with a lot of Americans because we understand that alliances, Western alliances, are very important, especially in the face of a revanchist Russia. But are we getting the best bang for our buck? Are we giving sort of an umbrella of protection to countries that aren't doing their fair share and pulling their weight within NATO? These are important questions that I think are worthwhile to raise. These are the types of things we ought to be talking about. Ted Cruz, I'd love to hear his position on what Donald Trump said about NATO. I think that is worthwhile.
Okay, so I think this. I think to Guy's point, I think on the broader scope here, this is where Trump can resonate for people, and the plausibility of, you know, some of what he's suggesting we can discuss with a fine-tooth comb. But this is the thing. With Donald Trump at the helm, it's very clear that he is going for American best interest, and the mantra of what do we get out of the deal is kind of taking...
By the way, he's done this again. He's branded it.
Yes.
He's calling his foreign policy his doctrine, the Trump doctrine, is America first.
Well, yeah, and we
I
know
mean, that's,
that
again, brilliant.
It's pretty smart, and it's consistent in the sense that we know Donald Trump sees everything more or less through the prism of the deal, the art of the deal. That's his thing.
You know,
and I don't mean that
I get
negative.
that.
I don't
get
mean
that.
it negative, Lou. Hear me out now. I'm not hating on him. I think it's kind of cool in a way that it can consistently. He is the businessman in this race. You know, he's branded himself as that. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a knock.
He's
He's
non-lawyer.
not a politician.
Not a
He's not
career
a lawyer.
politician.
He's the business guy. So why not make your campaign thing the deal and getting America the better part of the deal? And again, the plausibility and the nuance we can
think about
discuss.
this.
But I think it's good politics.
You know, to Ebony's point here, Guy, I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is putting forward America first. I mean, if America isn't first, and if it doesn't inform every public policy choice and decision and initiative taken by the leaders of this country, which obviously it has not for decades, then what are we doing? And what should be first?
I mean, I think that Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush and others did craft their foreign policy with an America first mindset. I would say.
Well, the
I'm
consequences
frustrated.
don't support that. But I think that their intent, as you would suggest, was right.
Okay. We can agree to disagree on that. I will say on the whole America First thing, I've seen some criticism of Trump for using that particular slogan because it harkens back to a previous slogan from many, many decades ago. I would just point out John McCain's campaign slogan in 2008 was country first. It's the same thing. I think that that's
He
a
should
silly
have said America
it's a
first. He
misplaced
might have
attack.
won. You know, it's always taken that edge off things. A little power, a little spark, definitive.